My name is Sam Bryan and I am a watch manager at Widnes Fire Station in Cheshire Fire and Rescue Service. My earliest memory of having a stammer is I was reading aloud in primary school, maybe year 2, year 3, and I remember reading to the class and stumbling over a couple of words, and obviously kids being kids laughed, and from that moment on I always had issues with my speech and speaking in public, and then it just got progressively worse over time to the point of where I had a full-blown stammer which I've carried with me through to adulthood. So times when I've struggled in particular are instances where the contact's not face to face. So I would always avoid telephone calls to the point of where I would get my wife to make doctor's appointments for me if I needed to. I didn't like ordering at drive-thrus for fast food takeaways because there's no human interaction and it's hard to gauge how people are taking how you're speaking because there's no visual feedback. There was one time I was in the car with a group of friends going through a fast food drive-thru, and I accidentally missed the area to order with my window to make the person sat behind me in the seat have to order, because I didn't want to order because I knew that would really make my stammer play up and be at its worst. My speech in a work environment, thankfully I've got colleagues and an organisation that are very supportive of me having a stammer and support me with my speech. However, there are times such as incident command assessments where it's just me in a room. I'm conscious that cameras are filming me. I'm being assessed for maybe a promotion or to make sure that I'm capable of commanding a crew. I have to brief teams, I have to communicate what the risks are. If it's a chemical incident, I have to highlight the PPE that needs to be worn. There's a lot of information to convey in a very pressured assessment environment, and that led to me having real issues with how I articulated myself during those command assessments. There'd be lots of fidgeting, I'd be touching my face.
To get the trauma pack from our colleague over there, okay. and then to
I'd be tapping my foot to try and get a bit of a beat to talk to, and there was lots of times when if there was a large gap I would fill that void with so I would say and then try and get the noise to lead myself into speaking rather than just taking my time and speaking. And also certain words that I'd use to try and get myself into speaking, so I'd say like, I'd say kinda, I would say words like that to propel me into saying the words that I actually wanted to say.
They are trying to get to him to then take him out of
At actual operational incidents, because I knew the crew around me and they knew me, I was much more comfortable. However, in an assessment environment where it's just me in a room with a few cameras filming me, again talking to an avatar on a screen, so there's no human feedback, and there's just an assessor sat in at the corner, that was a real trigger for my speech to be really poor and not where I'd want it to be. I had an interview for promotion maybe 2 years ago, and that was the worst that my speech has ever been. I struggled to articulate any answers. An interview that was meant to be half an hour took an hour and a half because my speech was so poor. So on the back of that, I started researching programs to help me with my speech. So in the past, I tried hypnotherapy, I tried speech therapy, I tried a number of more common speech programs to help me with my speech. And then in November last year, I joined the Maguire program, which is a peer-led program. Everyone on the program has a stammer, and it teaches you new tools and techniques of how to speak more freely. One of the main ones is relearning how to breathe. So you breathe with a costal breath, which is higher up in the chest to give you more air and power in your voice. But there's a number of physical and psychological techniques that have helped me to improve my speech an infinite amount since joining the program last November. They film you on your first day a bit like this, and then they film you on your last day a bit like this, and they compare your speech on your first day to your final day. And some of the coaches that were taking the course, they showed us their videos on the first day, and compared to them up talking to 100 people coaching, it was really inspirational to see the progress that can be made. Although it's an initial 4-day course and it was really intense, long days, I was exhausted after every day. It was also really inspirational to see the people on the program and see how far they'd come and see the potential in me to be able to speak more freely in situations that I'd never had done in the past. I think finding the help, I think for people who have a stammer and my advice for them is, if you have a stammer, you self-criticise quite a lot of the time, and you're kind of your own worst enemy in that regard. However, I think just maybe give yourself a bit more praise and just accept that you won't speak like the majority of people do. However, you can learn to speak in a way that works for you, and you can communicate just as well, if not better, than everybody else. I get a lot of support from friends, family, people in work. However, I would say people need to be careful not to try and speak for people who have a stammer. So if they're struggling, just to give them time, let them finish what they're trying to say. Don't try and jump in and speak for them, because that only increases the fear. So when people do try and help, it's obvious that the hearts are in the right place, but there's times where you just need to let the person with the stammer complete what they want to say, because then they get a better feeling that I've said that, not somebody else has spoken for me. But I have got a really supportive group of friends, family, work, colleagues who have always helped by making adjustments for my speech and have helped me get through some pretty tough speaking times. Okay, so some common misconceptions about people with a stammer is that everybody speaks with an overt kind of stammer. So there's two types of people with stammers. There's overt and there's covert. So overts are the more obvious ones that you see, where they really struggle with the sound at the lips, and it's like trying to get sounds out. Whereas covert stammerers is what I used to be. Use a lot of tricks and mental gymnastics to avoid the words that they don't want to say. So a lot of it is changing words kind of on the go and trying to get to sounds that they know that they can say, rather than sounds that they want to say. So I'll say one of the common misconceptions is that everyone struggles with actually pronouncing the words in terms of getting them out of the mouth. However, there are some people that have a stammer who can hide it really well. And I think it's all about just making sure that you give everyone a chance to speak and you support people with whatever support that they want. Life with a stammer before the Maguire programme, it was like when you've got a tap at home that's got a bit of a drip and just constantly dripping. There's times when you won't hear it and you'll feel fine, and then there's nights when you're up all night because the only noise that you can hear is the tap, and you're thinking, I can't say this, I can't order a takeaway on the phone, I can't phone up and ask for X, Y or Z, because the fear and the pressure is like a vice choking you. You physically cannot articulate the words that you want to say, and it's like you've got a bit of a false life because you can't be the person that you want to be because you're so handicapped by your speech. However, since the programme, and I've got the tools and techniques to handle stressful situations, my life has improved an infinite amount. I can take my children through the drive through, I can order takeaways on the phone, I can just speak to people and have a comfortable conversation without constantly thinking there's a word coming up here that I can't say. So the tools that the Maguire programme have given me over the past year have made an immeasurable improvement in my life and my own mental happiness, really, well-being.